Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 91 of the Top Sweet Wrestling Podcast. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, about to hop right on into it. I'm not going to waste any time. A lot of topics to get into, whether that be WWE, AEW, Impact, the list goes on and on. So I'm about to hop right on into this thing. You can find me at linktr.ee/2sweetpod. That's where all of my listings are for this podcast. I'm on Twitter as well at 2sweetpod. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with best thing, funniest thing of the week. Best thing of the week, AEW Full Gear. Ladies and gentlemen, I had an exciting time watching this pay-per-view. I got to say that, look, I don't put it on the level of Double or Nothing. That's just my opinion, because Double or Nothing is one of the best pay-per-views of the year. But I did like AEW Full Gear. It had its ups, it had its downs, but I enjoyed it overall. It was the best thing of the week. Funniest thing of the week, the doggone Chris Jericho and MJF. Look, I'm going to get into this segment later on in the show, so I'm going to save a little bit of it. But they just had the darndest segment on AEW Dynamite, man. It's just one of the funniest segments of the entire year. It was like, who could be the bigger jerk? I'm going to get into that later. So that was best thing, funniest thing. We got to hop into number one spot as well. So the number one spot of the week, look, it's just every spot from the Moxley Omega match, man. Like, whatever spot you want to pick up, and like, whether that be the bed of barbed wire, the shards of glass, like a brutal, grotesque match, man. You just pick every spot out from that match. It was just an amazing match. Moving on to number one sale of the week, the doggone Ortiz from from Proud and Powerful Ortiz. He took a super kick from, I don't know if it was Nick or Matt Jackson, but he took a super kick and he sold it like a fish flopping out of water. That was the number one sub of the week. Number one match of the week for me was Cody and Jericho. A lot of people say, Omega and Moxley, but I really thought Cody and Jericho was the best match of the night. I'll get into the MJF Heel Turn as well later on in this show. So we're going to hop right on into this thing, ladies and gentlemen. Like, where else could I start first? Sitting down on a Tuesday night, and I'm getting ready to hop into the Flash and Arrow, but guess what? They're not on TV this week. So I sit down, I watch WWE Backstage, and surprise, surprise, I have my head down. I hear the Cult of Personality theme song. I pop my head up, and I'm like, no way. And yes, he is here, CM freaking Punk, ladies and gentlemen. Who would have thought it? Like, when I shocked and bewildered and flabbergasted is an understatement of what I was when I looked up. I seen that guy coming out and him saying that he's gonna be there next week, and like, this just set wrestling Twitter ablaze. Like, I knew what the deal was gonna be when I saw him, and like, at the time, like, nobody was really watching it. Only a very small portion of my timeline was watching WWE Backstage, and I'm just typing, look, y'all, wake up, CM Punk just appeared on WWE programming. And like, within 5 minutes, I tell you, it's like my entire wrestling timeline was CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. It's like everybody woke up. So it is obviously a huge story. Now, obviously, we got the people out here who just want to be actually guy, and who just want to be people walking around with cold water to throw everything on the situation. They have to be the people that say, well, you know, CM Punk works for Fox, not WWE. Look, man, we know, but it's just to see that guy around WWE programming that has a lot of people excited. But I will say this, let's not lose perspective here. Like, the only negative that comes out of this is that fans are already starting to get hope, and even in some cases, false hope. I'm already seeing, oh man, AJ Lee is going to face off with whomever at WrestleMania. CM Punk is going to be in the Royal Rumble. And then I'm like, let's just let's just enjoy it for what it is. Let's not get too far out ahead of ourselves, because if you build up expectations, that's when your dreams and hopes comes crashing down when the dude don't come out at number 30 at the Rumble. So I like, at this point, I just hope that WWE just goes on ahead and puts a heel at number 30 at the Rumble so they can get booed, because people are already expecting CM Punk to be there. And I'm just saying, let's just enjoy it for what it is. He works at Fox, breaking down WWE shows on WWE Backstage. Let's just leave it at that. And if a return to WWE happens, then we can be excited about it. Then we can get into it. But look, man, people are excited already. And quite frankly, I'm not going to sit up here and blame him, to be honest. You know, people have been chanting CM Punk for years upon years now. The guy left wrestling years ago. People want to see him back, and they're very excited. And look, I'm not going to be here to sit there and quell the momentum or quell their excitement. Be excited, but don't watch the perspective. Don't get too excited. So moving on, I'm going to go to Sin Cara, ladies and gentlemen. He has asked for his release from WWE. I do not think it was granted, but I found the story very interesting. You know, I'm saying, another wrestler asked for their release, another wrestler asked for his release, and I'm like, well, who did it this time? So obviously I do what everybody else does. I go to Twitter or Google and type in WWE release, and bam, Sin Cara, the first name to pop up. And he wants out, and I gotta say that I won't be very long on this topic, but I am normally pro wrestler, but in this instant, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to wrestlers asking out of their contracts, I gotta say I'm pro the company every time, unless some promises were broken in the contract. And there doesn't seem to be any promises broken in the contract here. It's just that Sin Cara is not being used in the way that he thinks he should be used. So I'm of the ilk that says, like, whether it be WWE, whether it be Impact, like, you cannot let wrestlers out of contracts because it sets a bad precedent. Like, you can't have somebody sign a 5-year deal and like 1 year into it or 2 years into it, you can't just let them out the contract. That's just my opinion. And when it comes to wrestlers, like, I am of the mindset, I've been saying this for a long time, wrestlers should negotiate opt-outs in their contracts. Like in sports, we have, whether it's football, basketball, or whomever, baseball, they have the big stars or whomever sign deals and they negotiate opt-outs after year or two of a deal, of a 5-year deal. That's what wrestlers should do. They should negotiate these opt-outs in their contracts so they don't be beholden to these contracts. That's just my opinion. I don't know if it's possible. In my estimation, you can negotiate anything in a contract. So I think it is possible. I think wrestlers should start negotiating, opt-outs, so we don't have these situations come up. As it pertains overall, like, I wish the best for Sin Cara. It just did not work out, whether it be whomever was under the mask as Sin Cara. It just did not work out. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, gonna move on to Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan. So it has been announced for the, if I'm not mistaken, the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. It will be Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan for the Impact World Championship. I gotta say that this is incredible, man. First, I like to say that I don't like the fact that they spoiled their own main event that's coming up this Tuesday. We got a number one contenders match for the title, and I'm like, okay, like, we already have Tessa announced. Like, if somebody else wins it, it's not gonna matter, or it's obviously gonna be Tessa, so they've spoiled that. I don't like that, but it is what it is. We are where we are now, so Tessa's getting the title shot, and this is gonna be incredible because Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan has an incredible story already going back and forth, where Sami Callihan has picked up a couple of victories here already, and he has Tessa Blanchard's number, and they've had incredible matches. If you've gone and looked at it, the crowd has really been behind Tessa Blanchard, and I think that's really the impetus of why Impact is going down this route. The crowd, every time Tessa Blanchard has either been going for the X Division title The crowd has been really, really excited to see her win it, and they didn't go with it. Whether it's her getting the number 1 contendership months ago versus Sami Callihan, she lost. The crowd really wanted to see her win there. So the crowd is behind Tessa Blanchard. So I think that's why Impact is going down this route. It's obviously an extremely empowering moment to have a woman face off for a world championship in a wrestling company. It is an extremely empowering moment. And look, man, Tessa Blanchard is the number 1 asset in all of Impact Wrestling. So I understand it from that aspect as well. You want to put the championship on your number 1 draw. But there is one negative to this entire thing. It totally devalues the women's championship. And, well, I don't know if I can say totally, but it does devalue the women's championship. At this standpoint, it's like Tessa Blanchard is saying, look, the women's title ain't good enough for me, so I'm going to go after the world title. Where there's a case to be made that if you take the women's championship and you build it up to Tessa Blanchard, it becomes the number 1 title in all of your company. So now it's looked at as like, hey, it's still big title, but Tessa Blanchard is just above it. That's what, and when you have Tessa Blanchard going after the world title, that's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong about that one, but that's what it feels like to me. Otherwise, this is going to be a phenomenal match, and I really think they are going to go with Tessa Blanchard to win the world title, and that place is going to explode when it happens. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn to what was really the only noteworthy thing from SmackDown last Friday. That was just a horrible SmackDown. But Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, ladies and gentlemen, how about that? How about that for $1? Like, okay, Daniel Bryan is backstage with Sami Zayn. Lights go off, lights come back on, and Sami Zayn is out of there. There's Bray Wyatt, and he lays the beat down on Daniel Bryan, and everybody's excited, man. It's like, oh man, it's the Daniel Bryan, it's the Wyatt family storyline over again. And look, I am excited for that match just as much as anybody else. But here's the deal, man. How are they supposed to have a regular matchup? Like, I understand that the build is, I got faith in Daniel Bryan, I got faith in Bray Wyatt, that the build is going to be just fine as we head into SmackDown. That's coming up, that's quickly approaching, man, by the way. But I have faith that the build is going to be just fine. But at the end of the day, how are they supposed to have a normal matchup? Are the lights going to be out again? If we're going to have red lighting, that's going to suck. Like, how is Daniel Bryan supposed to put together any believable offense? And like, that's the only thing that I have a problem with Bray Wyatt winning the title. It's the way that they put the title on him. Like, Seth Rollins hit him with a 50-11 curb stumps, and like the dude's kicking out of everything. So how can Daniel Bryan, how can we even believe this match? Like, how can it even have any type of believability when Bray Wyatt is kicked out of everything under the sun and risen up out of everything under the sun? Like, how are you supposed to have a believable match with him going forward? That's my only problem. I understand that. Look, I'm into Bray Wyatt. I'm happy that he's the champion, and I want to see how this thing plays out. So we'll see how it plays out, and hopefully they have a phenomenal matchup at Survivor Series. So moving on, we got MJF, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to hop into NXT and AEW later on in this very show. But I've got a lot of people saying that the heel turn from MJF was too early. And look, man, it was a captivating moment. We had Chris Jericho versus Cody Rhodes, and it got off to a slow start, but it picked up extremely well. That crowd was very much behind Cody Rhodes to win that match. And we have Chris Jericho locking the Lion Tamer, and yes, I still call it the Lion Tamer from time to time. That's just me. But he locks it in. MJF throws in the towel. And I'm sitting there like, okay, no, we cannot end the world title match this way. Like, okay, I've seen the white towel tossed in before, Bob Backlund, Bret Hart. I've seen it happen before. But in this instant, big pay-per-view here, you're just trying to get up off the ground if you're AEW. No, the world title cannot end, the world title match, cannot end like that. But MJF hit the heel turn, and once he did that, I said, oh, okay, I'm alright with it now. They had to turn MJF that night if that was going to be the finish to the match. So for me personally, there are a lot of people saying that, oh, they could have put more story into it. Like, we've already had a ton of story. AEW has been a while for a good while now. Like, not very long, but a good while now. Ever since the very beginning, ever since the inception, ever since the starting press conferences, it was known that MJF was Cody's best friend. And we've been building that for a long time now. I understand that we could have gotten some more mileage out of it, but I am cool with the MJF heel turn happening right here, right now. And MJF, like, I'm not saying they need to put the rocket on him now, but they're gonna have to put the rocket on him sooner or later, because the guy is undeniable. And this is a great reason as to why AEW needs a mid-card title very soon, because MJF needs to be the head of that mid-card title. They need to build him up and build him up into the number one star that he is. I cannot wait to see how this MJF and Cody Rhodes build, how this feud turns out. Like, I am very excited. And yes, the MJF heel turn, I loved it. I didn't like the fan throwing whatever it was, or they threw a cup of beer or whatever it was, but that was a phenomenal segment, and it was extremely well done. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, just looking at it quickly, Moxley and Omega from AEW Full Gear. That was a crazy matchup, man. Like I said earlier in this show, I'm not going to get into all of the spots, but the spots were crazy, man. Whether it was Moxley crawling through glass to get to the ropes, that was phenomenal, man. The match itself was just sick. I will say there were a lot of varying viewpoints that went on about this match. I will say, for me, there's some people that liked it, some people that didn't like it, some people that actually hated the match. But I will say that it went too long in my estimation. It went like 8-9 minutes too long. You know, once they got back from that crazy barbed wire spot by the stage, the light spot by the stage, like, it was starting to feel like the match was going on a little bit too long. And it got to the point where when Moxley was ripping up the apron from the ring, it was like, okay, let's get to the end of this. But outside of that, man, the match itself was phenomenal in my estimation. Was a gruesome, like, when these guys hate each other. When I see people that hate each other, I want to see a hard-hitting match. And that's what I got, a hard-hitting match. That was worth the money in my estimation. I enjoyed it very much. There are a lot of varying viewpoints on that one. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, Moxley picks up the win there. And I'm gonna hop into a topic from NWA Power, and we got a couple of topics to go until we get into the NXT, some of the segments and matches from NXT and AEW. But moving on to NWA Power, who should challenge Nick Aldis next? Should it be Eli Drake or should it be James Storm, ladies and gentlemen? I have very much enjoyed NWA Power, but the thing that I've enjoyed most about it is that they have set up their storylines very well, and they have built up their challengers to Nick Aldis tremendously well. James Storm does not have the national title anymore, so he cut a promo on the most recent episode of NWA Power talking about how he's coming after Nick Aldis. And Eli Drake has been involved in the storyline with James Storm previously as it pertains to the national title. And then he came out, he talked about Camille not talking and how he was going to get her to talk. And he was talking about how he was coming after Nick Aldis as well. So we have two very credible challengers for the NWA title. And I got to say that from a storyline perspective, James Storm should be the next in line. He was the national champion, and he should be the next guy. He lost it. He should be the next guy to get the shot. But I am more intrigued by Eli Drake getting a title shot at Nick Aldis. That's just my preference. I would love to see it happen. I won't complain either way, no matter what road they go down, whether that be James Storm, whether that be Eli Drake, because they're both phenomenal talkers on the mic. They can carry a feud on the mic. Nick Aldis is a phenomenal talker as well. All three of the guys can go in the ring. So either way it goes, whether it's one of the guys or a triple threat match, it is going to be a great challenge for Nick Aldis, and I am very excited to see how it turns out. Last topic, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to AEW NXT, as I take a sip here of water, excuse me. ACH, ladies and gentlemen. ACH has quit WWE, and what was an expletive-laden Periscope video, and he raises some good points, ladies and gentlemen. He has quit WWE, and I gotta say that one thing that I find very annoying, ladies and gentlemen, is that he has raised some points about WWE has had some racist behavior, and I gotta say that, look, man, he brings up some valid points in that WWE has held some black wrestlers down, and I'm gonna be here to say that, and they've held down a lot of people. But here's what I don't like: when people come flying in on Twitter to post their collages and montages of black wrestlers that have won championships. Like, bro, this is a situation to where two things can be true at one time. WWE can be in a spot where they've held down black people before, and they can have some black people that have been champions in the company. So, like, don't just post me a collage of pictures saying that look at these black champions that have won. That's not true. Like, no, bro. The two things can be true. But as it pertains to ACH, man, I'm gonna be short and quick on this one. I hope he gets employed somewhere, and I'm worried about his future employment because people hold everything against you, and he did it in such a public manner, and I'm just worried that I hope he gets another opportunity because the guy's phenomenally talented. So I'm hoping he gets another shot, but I wish him the best as it pertains to his future opportunities with whatever company he gets a hold on to. So ACH has quit WWE. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna move on into the NXT and AEW reviews. Not necessarily reviews, just gonna look at a few topics from each shows. We're gonna start with NXT, ladies and gentlemen. Moxley versus Mika Nakazawa. And look, man, they started off with that, and that wasn't much of a match. It was more of a showcase for Jon Moxley. And he had a promo, and he said that his goal was to take every single body out from AEW. He said he didn't care how long it would take, he was gonna do it. So he left it at that. We will have a surprise answer later on in the show. I'm gonna get into that. So I very much enjoyed that promo. It was well done. And we're moving on, ladies and gentlemen. We had the return of Luchasaurus as well, ladies and gentlemen. It was the Dark Order, and they were taking on Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt. And the Dark Order picked up the victory. I'm not into the Dark Order's gimmick. Hey, that's just me. But they very much needed a win. They went to lay the beat down on Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt. And I tweeted out, it would be cool if Luchasaurus came out and made the save here. And it's like wrestling fans think alike, man. Right as I tweeted out, the fans started chanting, Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus. And soon enough, the music hits and that guy comes running down, and it is just a joy to see that guy back. He is one of the biggest stars, or he will be, one of the biggest stars in AEW if they play their cards right. Like, I know a lot of people on my timeline, it's like, look, bruh, get a dude the title, strap the rocket on him, and I'm like, wait. I know we all want to see that, but let's let this play out. We got a tag team title arc that we gotta play out with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Gotta let them get the championships first. Let the act still down or die down, and then we can build up Luchasaurus for the championship. So that was a phenomenal segment that I very much enjoyed. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we had an Alley promo. I appreciate them giving the time to the ladies, and because they very much need it. Now, her promo got interrupted by Kong, and she laid out Alley, and some more hair was taken away. I still don't get that, but I guess we'll find out about the gimmick as the gimmick goes forward. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Jericho, MJF and one of the darndest promos you will ever see, ladies and gentlemen. Like, these guys were going back and forth, and it was like, who could be the bigger jerk? And it was some of the darndest, greatest TV I've ever seen, funniest TV I've seen in recent memory. They're going back and forth, and they're like, who is the biggest jerk in AEW? And they both said Cody Rhodes. And it was a kind of a throwback to when Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens had the promo when they both said Roman Reigns at the same time. It was a throwback to that, and it was a tremendous promo. I thought MJF kind of should have gotten the stage on his own, a main event promo, but I enjoyed this just as much. Cody Rhodes came down. He had the ticked off look, and he had a tremendous segment, and he took out Jericho, even though it bounced the power bomb. That is what it is, or bounced the power slam, excuse me. That is what it is. Still was a great segment, but Warlord, excuse me, he finally appeared. He laid out Cody, and he stood tall with MJF. Is that gonna be a new alliance? Is Warlord MJF's muscle? I cannot wait to see how that all turns out going forward. Excuse me. Next up, we had Hangman Page versus Pac, and I gotta say that I was a bit disappointed that that match was on after the pay-per-view. Just a week after the pay-per-view. It was a phenomenal matchup. Those guys went out and they did a phenomenal job. Pac picked up the victory there. So moving on, we had the Bucks and LAX had a tremendous brawl, which led to an appearance by Orange Cassidy. That was great as well. It was a tremendous brawl as we headed into the main event. Bucks stood tall, Private Party intervened. And, LAX stood tall on the Private Party intervened. We will have the Private Party versus LAX next week. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, in the main event, we had SCU versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. I thought that was a tremendous match. Scorpio Sky picks up a huge roll-up victory over Chris Jericho to end the show. Can we get Scorpio Sky versus Chris Jericho? I would love to see that. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to NXT. To start, we had Angel Garza and Lio Rush. They had a phenomenal match. Maybe it was the match of the night. Was the match of the night in my estimation. We had a top rope moonsault, fall away slam. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, that happened. That was a tremendous spot from Garza, and it was a lot of near falls where you thought the match was over, and it was a tremendous win. Lio Rush picks up the victory in controversy as Garza's foot was under the rope. I'm pretty sure we'll see a rematch going forward, and I would love to see it. That would be great. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we had several segments where ladies were laid out. Tegan Knox was laid out. Rhea Ripley was laid out outside as well. Jessamine Duke later on in the show was laid out as well. We didn't know who did it. So we had a good old who done it. Now I love those in wrestling, so I was looking to see how it all played out. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, we had a Balor promo, and he cut this guy, Heel Balor, man, it's just incredible. He has cut his two best promos and back-to-back NXT appearances of his WWE/NXT career, and he just went at Johnny Gargano, talking about how Johnny Gargano is out for something that happened 3 weeks ago, and he was really trashing Johnny Gargano. That brought out Matt Riddle, and they had a back and forth, and that brought out the Undisputed Era, which brought out Keith Lee and Ciampa as well. They had a great back and forth, and we would have Keith Lee versus Roderick Strong, and what was an excellent matchup between the two. Keith Lee picked up the victory. We had a lot going on the outside. Balor came back out, took down Riddle. The Undisputed Era got into it. They attacked and took over, but that but Dominic Dijakovic, he made the save on the Undisputed Era, took them out, shook hands with Ciampa, shook hands with Keith Lee, and he will be on Ciampa's War Game team. I cannot wait to see that match up. Next up, we had Pete Dunne versus Killian Dane. That match didn't even get going as they had Damian Priest interfere. We had a great brawl between Dunne, Killian Dane, and Damian Priest. That was done greatly. I cannot wait to see what comes out of that. Last up, ladies and gentlemen, we had Io Shirai versus Mia Yim, and what was an excellent ladder match. It had a slow start. Mia Yim was busted open, so that kind of hurt the momentum of the match. We had Dakota Kai get involved, but Kaylee Ray come in as well. We had her get involved, and she put Mia Yim through the table. Through a ladder, ladies and gentlemen. What was a 6-spot? Io picks up the victory. Shayna Baszler comes out, but Bayley comes out as well. She stands tall over Shayna Baszler, and that was an incredible show. Both shows were great, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the last topic. I enjoyed both shows, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for the Too Sweet